The Financial Services Commission was established on the 1st of April 2011, bringing together under one roof the former Securities Commission, the Supervisor of Insurance, and the Cooperatives Department. To integrate these distinct regulatory functions into a single coherent body, and to do so credibly, required more than administrative skill. It required a leader who commanded respect, who understood governance in its deepest sense, and who could instill in a new institution the values it would carry long after his tenure ended. The leader was Sir Neville Nicholls. Sir Neville brought to the FSC a lifetime of distinguished public service. He was an outstanding attorney at law and legal scholar with an illustrious career. Called to the bar in London in 1957, he had served as Chief Parliamentary Counsel in the Attorney General's Chambers in Barbados, and later rose to become the third President of the Caribbean Development Bank, a post he held with distinction. When he came to chair the FSC, he brought all of that wisdom, all of that gravitas, and all of that commitment to excellence in the public realm with him. Those who work with Sir Neville consistently describe a man of uncommon character. He treated everyone with dignity and respect, regardless of their position, whether they were heads of state, financial executives, administrators, or custodial staff. He was, by all accounts, a superb communicator who expressed his positions clearly, calmly, and courteously. A man whose decisions consistently reflected a deep commitment to development and the public good. That is the kind of chair who builds institutions that last. Excellence, as we know, is never accidental. It is the result of sustained effort, of countless decisions made correctly or rightly, of standards held firmly, of a culture established patiently, day by day. Sir Neville understood this, and the FSC, as we have it today, is testimony to the foundations he laid. There's a particular burden that falls on pioneers. They must build without a blueprint. They must inspire confidence in something that does not yet fully exist. They must make the right structural choices early, because those choices echo for decades. Sir Neville met that burden with the same quiet excellence he brought to everything he touched. Sir Neville passed away in July 2024 at the age of 90. He was described as a genuine statesman who understood the true meaning and purpose of regional integration and who served Barbados in many spheres for a lifetime. It was noted that he ended his working life with never a blemish on his record, a tribute that few in public life can claim, and one which tells us everything about the man. It is entirely fitting that this lecture, the inaugural Sir Neville Nicholls Memorial Lecture, bears his name and honors his memory, and it is fitting that the FSC, the institution he helped to shape, is the one doing the honoring. On behalf of the board and staff of the Financial Services Commission, I extend our deepest respect to his family and our gratitude to all the pioneers, known and less known, who gave this institution its soul. And before I complete my address, may I say thanks very much to Sir Hilary for giving us of his time. I look forward very much, sir, to hearing your presentation. You never disappoint me when I hear you, sir. And I have no reason to think that you will do anything other than you've done before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Patterson, for those inspiring remarks that beautifully capture the institutional legacy Sir Neville Nicholls has left with us. Of course, it would be remiss of me to not also acknowledge the presence of our former chair, Oliver Jordan, who was with us from 2002 through this year. Thank you, sir, for your presence and also for your leadership as well. And now, my friends, we transition to something very special. The arts have always held a unique place in our culture. They help us to express what words alone cannot capture. Tonight, we have the distinct privilege of experiencing inspired, exulting, free through the artistic expression of Elite Vox. This piece traces a journey through sound, rooted in Caribbean identity, community, and spiritual reflection. Through a contemporary blend of folk, jazz, and gospel influences, the performance moves from labor and longing through declaration and invitation toward a culminating expression of freedom and renewal. At this time, let's put our hands together and welcome Elite Vox.
Daylight come and me wa go home. Day, me say 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 day. Daylight come and me wa go home.
Work all night and a drink of a rum. Daylight come and me want go home. Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight come and me want go home. I tell you come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman,
Tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home.
let's go now, day.
Me say day, hey, hey, yo. Daylight come and me wa go home. Day, me say day, me say day, me say day. Me say day, me say day, me say day. Oh, me say day, me say day, me say day. Me say day, me say day.
Night on a drink of rum.
Me say day.
Daylight come and me want go home. Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight
I know you know this one, you can sing along with us, all right? Let's go. 2, 3, get up with that.
To Bridgetown early Saturday morning, you see the women, oh how they calling, singing, come for the breadfruit, come for the corn, come for the apples, fresh as the morn, come for banana, come for potato, come for the guava, the guava, the guava, the guava.
Bridgetown early Saturday morning, you see the children, oh how they smile and sing. Don't be no fool, don't be too cute. Fill up your belly with lovely fresh fruit. Come for banana, come for potato, come for the guava, the guava, the guava.
Saturday morning, morning time. Saturday morning, Bridgetown. Saturday morning, morning time. Saturday morning, come down. Saturday morning, morning time. Saturday morning, Bridgetown. Saturday morning. Unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born.
For unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born.
Unto us a son is given. 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 For unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born.
For unto us a child is born.
For unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given.
Unto us a son.
Unto us a son is given.
Unto us a son is given.
Unto us a son. Unto us a son is given. Given, given. Unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given. 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 And the government shall be upon his shoulders.
Put your hands together, let's go.
The government shall be upon his shoulders. And the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Wonderful Counselor, wonderful Counselor.
You? Oh, let's go there. Let's go, guys.
Wonderful Counselor, wonderful Counselor.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful Counselor, wonderful Counselor. Wonderful Counselor, wonderful Counselor. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. His name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, wonderful Counselor.
Put your hands together, everybody. Let's go.
Wonderful Counselor,
Let's get the whole room clapping. Let's go.
wonderful Counselor. Wonderful Counselor, wonderful
Peace
Counselor.
line. Hey.
Wonderful Counselor, wonderful Counselor. The Prince of Peace.
Good evening, everyone. I am Carol Nicholls, Chief Operations Officer of the Financial Services Commission. I am sorry that I'm unable to join you in person this evening, but I look forward to interacting with some of you in this room and many others who will join us during this week of our industry consultations. Before I get to this, allow me to highlight the invaluable contribution that Sir Neville has made to this island's financial services. Sir Neville's legacy for us as a commission is one that reminds us of the importance of building strong institutions, sound regulation, and promoting forward-thinking leadership. This evening's lecture, being delivered by Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, is a moment when we can both reflect and look ahead. It is in this spirit that we have introduced a series of flagship events as part of our 15-year milestone. At this point in our development, the financial services sector is evolving rapidly, shaped by innovation, global standards, and emerging risks. We recognize that this is a critical moment, one that calls for engagement, dialogue, and deliberate reform. This week, under the theme Stronger Partnerships, Better Regulation, we focus on bringing our stakeholders together to help shape what comes next. Over the next 5 days, we will host a series of consultations across our key sectors. We begin with securities and investment funds reform, exploring how we strengthen and modernize our capital markets. This will be followed by insurance reform, alongside the launch of our new application management system, a step toward more efficient and transparent regulatory processes. We will then turn to credit unions and microfinance, recognizing their critical role in financial inclusion. Next, we examine pensions reform, ensuring long-term sustainability and protection for our citizens. And we conclude with virtual assets service providers reform, addressing one of the fastest evolving areas in global finance. Effective regulation is not developed in isolation. It is built through collaboration. We invite you to be part of the conversation throughout this week. Visit our website at www.fsc.gov.bb for more details. And as we honor the legacy of Sir Neville Nicholls, we do so by continuing the work together. Thank you.
I can wait here.
Wasn't Elite Vox stunning? Weren't they? Let's put our hands together for that. Absolutely incredible. I don't know if I'll ever look at Handel's Messiah the same way again. And of course, in Carol's absence, we want to say thank you as well for those remarks and for those very important reminders. I trust that many of you who are in this room who have not yet registered for those consultations will join us for these very important conversations. It's not too late to register, in case you're wondering, and it's certainly not too late to lend your voice to the future of regulation. As Carol said, please visit our website to learn more. That's www.fsc.gov.bb. To further deepen our reflection this evening, we now welcome one of Barbados's leading voices in spoken word. Adrian Greene is an award-winning Barbadian poet, spoken word artist, known for his sharp insight, lyrical style, and his ability to connect complex issues to everyday realities. Through his work, he challenges us to think more critically about justice, equity, and the kind of society we are building together. Given our focus this evening, it feels very fitting to have a voice that speaks directly to the hearts and minds of the public. This man is very versatile, a man influenced by Harriet Tubman, Bob Marley, and Sizzler Kalonji, just to name a few. Please join me in welcoming lyrical master and artistic genius, Adrian Greene.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here this evening in the world's first Black slave society, in recovery from Britain's barbarity time. Sir Patterson, we do bear the burden, we still bear the burden of pioneers. Gail, we must remember yesterday's logic. Philip, The cartels are as active as ever. And therefore, I would like to add my elite voice to say, sound a warning. We better be careful, children, 'cause it's like them want make we slaves again. I ain't trying to be scareful, children, but they got people in this world bent on total domination. History is a current event, a clock on the wall of people's minds that tells them what time of days it is, in what hour of humanity's eternity we sit. When the historian shakes the hands of history, he reconfigures the chronology of the future, locking into the reflective surfaces of the past, changing the image of his story, producing alternate endings, touching psychological and national nerve endings, stimulating the central nervous system of memory and imagination to excite new beginnings. The historian clocks us in the head, setting off sometimes alarming alarms, telling us it is time to wake up, to rise and shine, and chime and climb. The hills of history which historians like Sir Hilary have climbed give us a view of the times that chimes and reverberates and reverberates and reverberates and rings with the skin of ancestral drums, rhymes to the rhythm of ancestral laughter and wailers in redemption songs. The circadian rhythms of history synchronize art, culture, science, society, the economy, setting a clock for the sons and daughters whose time is yet to come. And their time will come. These sons and daughters of the dawn and sunset, fathers of the moon and mothers of the sun in ways of dialectics, it is not enough to play at commerce, craft, culture, cricket, if we cannot hit it beyond the boundaries of the neo-colonialist corporate acts. The bat was a weapon in the hands of cricket's first revolutionary, Sir Frank Worrell. We worry about a version of cricket played today by natural rebels who were not properly taught, approaching the crease without a cause, beyond the clause in the contract. If the generals in the war rooms and corporate lounges show little interest in socio-cultural combat, history is a pastime for old boys at the club. And there is no ancestral contact. The baton of battles waged on our behalf drops to the grass to be buried in the debris of the past. Abandoning world's political war in the wake of Coffee's kingdom cut short, General Buses bleeding, can historians like Sir Hilary lift the heavy hearts of spectators of this long, long, long game with commentary that is as clear as if we were there to witness the last innings heroics of our beginnings. The seas of history which historians like Sir Hilary and we surf and dive are alive with schools of indigenous thought which lie below the surface. There may be good fiscal fishing off the shores of our own intellectual heritage if we are willing to explore outside the global economic whirlpool and stop spinning top in Dead Sea sand. We come to hear the good news about the resurrection of an economics that has been reductively reduced to a science. A demystification of doctrines of finance miscalculated into being funds of facts and mathematical equations. To listen to the art of the historical imagination on a vision of an economic democracy where the public, the people, the demos are empowered to flower as sowers of seeds of their own financial fields and hills beyond recall as their very own. This is the politics of just and past due reparations, repair not only demanded but self-implemented. The funds of history which historians like Sir Hilary have banked in vaults of scholarship are needed to finance the economy of minds where culture is capital and identity is currency. This is time invested in areas of interest needed to properly repay the debts of the past with interest. History is a current event, a clock on the wall of a people's mind that tells them what time of days it is, in what hour of humanity's eternity we sit. And if we can see, recognize the look of a fascist on the face of this digital era timepiece, we know that. We know already that. We better be careful, children. 'Cause it's like them want make we slaves again. I ain't trying to be scareful, children. But they got people in this world bent on total domination, and they don't care if you starve or eat. As long as they've got you on the ground underneath the bottom of their feet, and them don't care if you die or live. As long as they've gotten from you every last thing you've got to give. Greed is their greatest character trait. And the greedier the man, the more they call him Great Napoleon, Alexander, Julius Caesar. International psychopaths of the highest order could hold hands calm with Adolf Hitler. Do I really need to mention the names of the New World Order? These warmongers, they wander from far and near to conquer all and anyone they find there. Their record is clear, and it's plain to see they can't hide from their genocidal tendencies. Imagine, you can't find a single living remaining Tasmanian. These are the facts. Where are all the Arawaks? I've been to America more times than one, and I never yet met a single Native American. But when I don't have to go to the Belgian Congo to know that they murder about 30 million or so. I say they murder about 30 million or so, drunk with ideas of their own supremacy. They love it when you're crunk on Crystal and Hennessy, and intoxicated people is much more easily hoodwinked and bamboozled and tricked into slavery. International incorporated cartels can buy whole governments, and we know this well, that even when they make the place a retail hell, compulsive consumers will never rebel. Uneducated consumers will never rebel. So we better be careful, children. Call them like them want make we slaves again. I ain't trying to be scareful, children. But they got people in this world bent on total domination. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Simply the best. Simply the best. You saw the sizzler kalungi coming out, didn't you? I saw it too. Adrian, thank you for that very moving piece. Now, that has paved the way for this evening's lecturer. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, and you must permit me to read his entire bio. You do not bring Professor Sir Hilary Beckles to the Hilton Hotel on a Sunday evening and not introduce him fully. So please permit me. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles is the Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. He is a distinguished academic, international thought leader, United Nations committee official, and global public activist in the field of social justice and minority empowerment. Educated at the University of Hull, Sir Hilary serves in multiple roles within the Caribbean private sector and is a long-serving director of Sagicor Financial Corporation. He is also a director of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, chairman of the Caribbean Examinations Council, and chairman of the CARICOM Commission on Reparation and Social Justice. Additionally, he serves on the council of the Association of Commonwealth Universities and is Chancellor of the United Nations University. Sir Hilary is also the recipient of the prestigious Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award in recognition of his global advocacy, academic scholarship, and intellectual leadership in support of social justice, institutional equity, and economic development for marginalized and oppressed ethnicities and nations. Under his leadership as Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, the institution established a fifth campus, the Five-Island campus in Antigua and Barbuda, and debuted in the prestigious Times Higher Education ranking in 2019, when it was ranked in the top 4% of the world's best universities. Sir Hilary has lectured extensively across Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas, and has published over 100 peer-reviewed essays in scholarly journals and more than 20 books on subjects ranging from Atlantic and Caribbean history, gender relations in the Caribbean, sport development, and popular culture. I'm excited, and I hope that you are, to hear from Sir Hilary as he delivers the inaugural Sir Neville Nicholls Memorial Lecture. Let's welcome him.
Citizens, I know we have put aside this two-party politics thing, but it's a Sunday. Why are you all here? It's good to see you all, and thank you for coming. I will recognize the protocol, but please allow me to recognize the Chairman of the Board, Sir Pat, the management team, staffers of the FSC, the Nicholls family, and Phil, please do not make light of my cricket. All of my distinguished friends and colleagues who are here, and what an honor it is. In fact, it is more than an honor, it's a joy to be a part of this, and critically, in celebration of Sir Neville. Sir Neville was my boss when I joined the Cayfield campus many years ago. He was the chairman of the Cayfield Campus Council, and we celebrated him then, and we held him in the very highest esteem. He was a friend and an advisor. I recall meeting him for the first time when I was in a state of intellectual meltdown because one of my senior colleagues at Cayfield met me in the corridor. I had just joined the Cayfield staff. I was a young man. And he said to me, why would you, a well-educated academic, why would you take your discipline out on the street and cheapen it? Now, you could understand the significance of that. We don't study history to tell stories to our grandchildren. We study history to read the future. That's why we study history. And I thought that this was going to be a very rocky road, being a member of the KFIL staff. And I met Sir Neville, and I asked for a word, and I described to him what I had just experienced. And he said, well, I will be very disappointed if you didn't do what you are brought here to do. I give you one piece of advice. I heard that you play cricket. Stay within the rules. Stay within the crease. Do not libel anyone. Do not defame anyone, but speak the truth. I thought that was the greatest advice you could give to an advocate and a public servant. The theme we are discussing this evening is really a continuing discursive intervention. And I cannot possibly say it as clearly as Adrian just did. So I would try to put into a passage what he just described in his poem. Where are we now? Our country is caught in the tension between its political and its economic dimensions. We know what we have achieved in terms of our political narrative, but our economic narrative lags far behind that political narrative. The question before us then is whether the market economy, as we know it, whether it can distribute access and rewards in the way that we would imagine economic justice would resemble. We have to discuss whether a financial services sector operates with its own independent logic and therefore is a spectator to a bigger game, or whether this sector is really a tool for those at the top. And finally, whether the professional quality of this sector and the role of the FSC, whether it is fit for purpose. I believe that we always need to historicize the reality as we live in it. How and why do we have structures such as what we have? Now, we know that the Caribbean, and we have heard, Phil, is one of the most regulated economic realities in the world. You have said over-regulated maybe, audited, but we are under a tremendous amount of scrutiny. And I hasten to add, it has always been like that. We have central banks, we have commercial banks, we have insurance companies, we have credit unions, we have development banks, regional and foreign, we have security exchanges, we have regulators, and we have commissions such as ours. Now, we can measure the impact of all of this on citizenship. We can also look at some of the indicators of that measurement, such as what percentage of your population has a bank account, recognizing that the vast majority of your citizens are living in poverty, what percentage of those in poverty have commercial accounts, what percentage of them transact their affairs on digital platforms, mobile money wallets, and so on, all of the contemporary expressions of the modern financial world. So it has penetrated even the most materially impoverished of our citizens. And we can measure all of that. The question still remains whether it is fit for purpose. So that a commission such as ours, respected for its professional success, what role is it playing in delivering the goods for all of our good citizens? What forces truly govern the principle of the inevitable winners and losers in the market? Now, this commission and the ecosystem of which it is a part has grown up gradually over decades to maturity. Growth is always painful. It is always disruptive. But we still need to know from time to time whether we are receiving the results of our investments. From time to time, I will step aside and make a few personal observations based on my own journey as a citizen. I entered graduate school as a student of economic development. Today we call it economic history. We were tasked with understanding how these colonies in the Caribbean, what were their chances of becoming viable nations? What were their chances of embracing a democratic ethos? What were the chances of taking responsibility for themselves and moving their citizens forward? This was a huge, huge project. For 400 years you are colonized, for 300 years you are colonies. Now you have to take these colonies and convert them into a nation. And we were the pioneers in that process. Within that context, I was a part of the Windrush, the 50,000 Barbadians unable to secure employment in their own country, and off they went in search of work. We know that journey because the adults went off, left their children with the grannies, and then the children ran off 10 or so years later. So one moment I was in Barbados, the next moment I was in Birmingham City, from a small village in St. Andrew to a city of 5 million people. But for me, at the age of 12, this was an internal journey. I never thought for one moment I had gone to a foreign country, because everything I saw in Barbados, I saw in Birmingham. So it was like walking down the street into another village. George Lamin captures it beautifully in one of his stories, in which he arrived in England in 1953, and we know 53 was the year when the young Princess Elizabeth was being coronated as the Queen of England. And he arrived in the midst of the coronation explosion. Every street, every town, every village, the coronation of the Queen. And he met this Barbadian man who had also arrived on the same boat. And he said to George Lyman, I know that you are a writer. I want to write a letter home to my mother in Spikestown. And George said to him, sure, you dictate and I will write. And he said, there, Mum, you'll be happy to know that I have arrived in England safely. But guess what, Mom? They're celebrating the coronation here as well. Now, well, understand the significance of what I have just said. Moving from Barbados to England was a domestic movement. But I returned home at the age of 26 on a one-way ticket to join the struggle. At that moment, I met the Right Excellent Errol Barrow. I had given a public lecture in the steel shed, and he asked if I could come and meet with him, and I was overwhelmed because I was a product of Barrow's imagination. We were the working class boys and girls who were able to go to secondary school at public expenditure. So we were that barefoot posse that Barrow took off the plantations and put us in high school. And so I went to see him, and he said to me that he was exhausted, and this was 1984, he's exhausted about speaking about the education, the revolution that he had inspired. He wanted to talk about something else. He wanted a new language. He wanted a new vision to kickstart his campaign in 1986 to regain the prime ministership. And the conversation went something like this. I said, well, you know, Mr. Barrow, let us break our history down in phases. So, emancipation in the 1830s was our social liberation. Mr. Grantley Adams, Right Excellent, with Clement Payne, had launched in 1937 through to 1951, when we all had adult suffrage, the political democracy. We've achieved that. Now our next frontier as a people, multi-generational, coming through time, our next struggle is the economic democracy frontier. We have social freedom, we have political freedom, and what we are looking for now is the 270,000 of us on this island. Our generational struggle is economic justice. Now, this is the struggle of our time. You may recall, some of you of age, that the Right Excellent Mr. Barrow won that election on the promise of economic democracy to this nation. That was the campaign trail, and he won that election. You may recall it was a massive landslide because the people gave him that mandate to take us through to this next stage in our development as a people. Now, at the center of all of this is a philosophy. And I'm happy to report that in the last 30 years, all political parties in Barbados have endorsed the economic democracy paradigm. Mr. Barrow did, Mr. Sandiford did, Mr. Arthur did, and now Ms. Motley, our leader, have all fully embraced that this is where we are, and this is what we must do. It is not a partisan issue, it's a popular issue. It is the ideal for our democracy. Well, sometimes you have to go, the question will always be asked, well, how can we do that? What are the mechanisms to achieve that? It is attractive in itself as a narrative, but how can our small nation, how can we mobilize ourselves in order to illustrate that this is practical? Now, this is where I wish to say something about what happened next. At the end of the 1980s, a group of us thought that there was an opportunity to demonstrate how decolonization can work and how sovereignty can be implemented. It became known as the Barbados Mutual Affair. My engagement was very straightforward. I had just come home and I wanted to take out some life insurances, and I bought some policies from the Barbados Mutual. And somewhere in the finest of print, as if it was written so finely, it wasn't meant to be read. It was meant to meet a legal requirement, but it wasn't meant to be read. And it says, this is a mutual company. All members are equal. Any member can become a director if so supported. Any member can attend an AGM. Any member can ask to see the financial accounts with reasonable time. And all of these rights and powers embedded in the finest of print. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go to the AGM and participate in a company that I partially own. The AGM looked something like this, as many people in the AGM as we probably have here this evening. Okay, so we had a full house, arguably 200 people or so, but there were only 2 black people in the audience. And I stood up and introduced myself to the chairman. I said, Mr. Chairman, my name is Hilary Beckles, and I'm honored to become a member of this mutual company that is over 130 years old. But, Mr. Chairman, where are the people? Where are the people? My research had already shown that 78% of the policies owned by the Barbados Mutual were black people. 78% were black people. So, where are the people? Where are the people who own the company? Where are they? Never detach yourself from your money. Principle number 1. Every month, I was paying my $300 for my insurance, and I wanted to know where that was going. And what I found was, well, it was going many places, including horses at the savannah, yachts in the marina, and that is what they had made of us, spectators of our own money. They were super consumers of our money. So here we are, 20 years after independence. 20 years after independence, and we are like children financially in our own society. The rest, of course, is history. We formed an association of very concerned policyholders, and we provided a course of education for thousands and thousands of people until we democratized that company. That the management, and I lived to see a working class young black woman from Boscobel, Pat Downs Grant, becoming the president of the Barbados Mutual. What a journey. And I also remember that when the 1937 rebellion for justice started in Barbados, when Clement Payne's people rallied for political rights and power, the first person who was killed in 1937 was shot on the doorstep of the Barbados Mutual. And that was very symbolic because for 100 years, no black person could step into that building unless they were a maid or a security guard. So we are moving through our journey to citizenship, to knowing who we are, and how proud I am today, reflecting on those 20 plus years, to see that the Barbados Mutual that used to be possessed of an asset base of 150 million Barbados dollars is now Sagicor, a multinational global corporation with an asset base of 42 billion Barbados dollars. The largest financial conglomerate in the Caribbean. But erupting from being a colonial little company in Bridgetown, the Barbados Mutual, white only, to a global conglomerate, because the people rose up, participated in the management, on the board, in all areas, so that Sagicor is now an expression of our collective identity. Male, female, white, black, Indian, all of us are now together in Sagicor. And that is why it has flourished to become what it is today. The moral to this story, of course, is that if you sit passively by, you will remain a passenger and not a driver of the vehicle. So, we took some effort, and we are now reaping the rewards because our country now benefits enormously from the global success of this company. Proof that these things can be done. Proof that our collective commitment, consciousness, energy, and ability can achieve anything we want to achieve. Now, the Financial Services Commission presides over this evolving environment. It has done an excellent job as an administrator. But today we must ask a more fundamental question. How can we convert this excellent administration into a tool of transformation? Now, all institutions have a systemic sociology. In much the same way that we are all expressions of our genealogy, we carry the DNA of our collective families and so on, all of that we carry with us. So we're not alone each of us, all of us, we carry a whole lot of stuff that we inherited. Institutions are the same. They carry a lot of stuff from the past that they have inherited. It's what you make of that inheritance. All institutions also have an ideology. And that ideology is important. In my own domestic space, I broke ranks with my domestic tradition because in my family, the men were very conservative. The men were just taking life as it is. In my family, the women were the radicals. The women were the ones who were transforming the situations. And I remember, 8 or 9 years old, my grandfather, who was a cane cutter, believed in Grantley Adams because Grantley Adams came into the cane fields and told the plantation owners, give these men a proper wage or we're going to shut the plantation down. Grantley Adams walked out into the cane fields among the workers and won a benefit for them. All those men believed in Grantley Adams. He was their Messiah. Moses, they call him. Then came Errol Barrow, promising free education for the children. All should go to high school. A shift in paradigm. And I recall to this day that conversation between my grandmother and my grandfather. And my grandmother said, that nonsense you're talking? We have 9 children to raise. And we have 5 grandchildren to take care of. Mr. Barrow is going to put them in school. I don't want to hear another word about Mr. Adams. School. School is the future. And the paradigm shift. And I saw once again the women on the vanguard. Progress. The future. So I said I broke ranks because I became the male radical. And that is important. You see, it's important because gender cannot be ignored in historical analysis. Every moment in our history, every moment, you see the women on the vanguard, pushing into the future. So, let's just have a look then at what we must do now. So we are here under the umbrella of the FSC. All of us are under the umbrella. The central banks, commercial banks, the University of the West Indies, all of us, the full financial family under the umbrella. As Rihanna will say, the umbrella? Right. But Caribbean economists have long said that economic development is not only about economic growth, it is about structural transformation. That you have to move your institutions from serving the few to empowering the many. It has to push representation beyond the elite into all levels of citizenship. Now, it is so easy to fall into the trap that the poorest of the poor among us don't have an intellectual contribution to make because we have been socialized into believing that poverty has something to do with the mentality. Your intellect has nothing to do with poverty. And the more of your people in poverty, the more that body of intellect is wasting away. So if you're concerned about development, you have to bring all that intellectual power from the poor neighborhoods and bring them into the center of what you're trying to do. And you go to history, there's so many examples of that. If you go to the KFL campus there, we have a monument on the campus called Quall's Quest. And why is there a monument to Quall? Quall was 7 years old when he arrived in Barbados on a slave ship. There was a raid on his village in the Congo. They grabbed the adults, and the children were left running around the village, and occasionally they would pick up the little children and throw them on the slave ship. And Quall arrived here in Bridgetown in 1797, having lost his parents. The gentleman who bought him off the slave ship was the owner of Black Rock's plantation. He owned that plantation at the bottom of Carefield. That was his plantation. And he took Quall home. And the reason he bought Quall was because he had a child of the same age, and he wanted a playmate for his child. But soon they realized that Quall had some quantitative, mathematical, mental construct going on, that this guy could do what we call mental arithmetic, and this was phenomenal. So he became an entertainer on the plantation. And each time the planter had his friends around, they would bring out Quall, and they would say to him, 5,495 multiplied by 2,100. And Quall would think about it for a minute or so and give the answer. So he became known on the plantation. He is a freak on the plantation. The black intellect is a freak phenomenon. So the question was what to do with this genius child. There's no future for that genius. He's just an entertainer, mathematical entertainer. Can you imagine that child today? Imagine what a child like that would do to the world today. And so when he died of the cholera epidemic of 1854. And so we said that Quall was the first intellectual on what is now the Carefield land. So the campus is built on the legacy of a young boy who slaved, but critically, because the Anglican Church was at that time building St. Stephen's Church. St. Stephen's Church was being built, and the priests brought Quall to teach Sunday school to the little black children, because they're getting ready for emancipation. You have to Christianize them, and Quall became the Sunday school teacher. As a teenager, he's teaching Sunday school. So he's the first teacher on the land that is now Carefield. Now, we have to see these events not as phenomena, but as part of our reality. And as a teacher myself, I learned that lesson a very long time ago. When I arrived in the UK, I was put into high school. I entered third form in the high school, and there were many children like myself whose parents had brought them up, and they all arrived there as preteens. So we're in high school. And there were a group of young Jamaican students who did not possess the educational background that I had possessed, having gone in those days to Coleridge and Parry, where I did for 3 years and had a solid high school education. So there was a young boy who could hardly read or write, but he was my classmate. And I understood that he was a country boy who really never had access to high school. So I took him under my wing to become his teacher, to get him through. And one evening he came to my home, and my father had given me a guitar to entertain myself in the winter. You know, the winter is cold and the children are locked up in the house. So he gave me a guitar and said, learn to play this as entertainment. I tried, and I was totally tone deaf. Could not play Ba Ba Black Sheep. But my friend Robert, within a matter of 3 or 4 hours, had learned to construct the system of how to play this instrument. And within 6 months or so, he could play any song he heard and became the founder of one of Britain's first reggae bands, and he is now a multimillionaire. Because that gift, lesson number 1, every child has a gift. It's for us to find it. Because when it is found and empowered, it follows its godly course. Now, so poverty, therefore, is our enemy. And the more of our people who are living in poverty, the poorer all of us are going to be. And we have to feel that, and we have to know it, and we have to believe it. And so, how can we get rid of this inequality? We are among one of the most unequally rewarded countries in the world. It's an unhealthy state from the point of view of economic development. What are we going to do? Mr. Barrow had told me in those conversations back then that when he won the election in 61 and then moved to 66, independence, he called the owners of all the properties in Barbados, all the people who owned the plantations and the merchant houses, he called them to a meeting. And this is how he narrated to me what he did. And he said to me that he told them, listen, you see, the few of you, you own 90% of the wealth on this island. You are less than 5% of the population, and you own 90% of the wealth. How can I build a democracy on this? How can I build an independent nation like this? Not possible. Not possible. So he said, I'm giving you a choice. Either I'm going to nationalize all of those plantations because you inherited them from slavery colonization. You never worked for them. You inherited them from your slave-owning ancestors. And here you are now with all of this wealth that you did not earn, you inherited. And you inherited through unjust means. Or I'm going to develop a fiscal and financial strategy to move some of this wealth from over here to educate all of these poor people over here. Because they need to be educated, their health needs to be improved, and they need to become modern citizens. And I need resources from you here to invest in these over here so we can build a nation, a just nation. And he said to me, he gave them 2 days to think about it. And they agreed to go for the fiscal and financial strategy. Thus, he got the money to build schools, to educate our children, to build a university campus, all the resources to do that. And that was classical public policy empowerment to rebalance a society. We must not take these things for granted. Because I can tell you, when Mr. Barrow took the University Act to Parliament, the KFIL Act, the opposition said that this is Mr. Barrow's vanity project. If the Bajans want to go to university, let them go to Mona. They can go to Mona to study, as many had done. Mr. Barrow was so distraught by what he was hearing. And the leader of the opposition kept asking, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Premier must tell us where the money is going to come from. And Mr. Barrow, typically, he just ignored all the questions, sat and ignored. And then the Speaker pleaded with Mr. Barrow to please give an answer to the question. And Mr. Barrow stood up and said, Mr. Speaker, God will provide. And sat down. Now, can you imagine today Barbados without KFIL campus? The vast majority of you in here have been empowered by that facility that came into being for that reason. So now we have a crisis. We have a massive education spend. We spend a significant proportion, perhaps more than most CARICOM countries, on education. Wonderful. But what we are not getting is the transformation of the educated people into entrepreneurship and wealth development. So we seem to have a block there. There's a block. We have the highest proportion of our population in the Caribbean. We have the highest proportion of our people who have had university education. But yet we have this block. Now, this is not a big question. Why? It is always easy to blame the victim. Oh, it is because the curriculum at the university doesn't promote in the consciousness of students a desire to be entrepreneurial. Nah, not good enough. Then the other explanation is, well, it's the younger generation. The younger generation don't have no passion for economic involvement, economic engagement, for professional transformation. They're backing away. The young men especially don't want to go to college. KFIL is now 75% female, 25% male. The men have dropped the baton, they're done with that. Wrong again. I don't believe blaming the curriculum, blaming the consciousness of young people, or even blaming the women, because they say, you know, the majority of the students are female, the majority of the graduates are female, and these female graduates who are the majority, they like to serve. They like to have a job and do a damn good job on the job. But they don't like to rise higher. They don't like to be the boss. They don't like to transform their knowledge into their own business. So blame the women. Okay? Wrong again. So when you go beyond these stereotypes and simplistic analyses, and you analyze the circumstance more carefully, this is what you will find. You will find that in our country, there is fear. There is still a fear among our young people, our citizens, but our young people especially, a fear of entering the financial ecosystem. Because they feel that the financial ecosystem is a place of high risk. It's a place where they feel vulnerable. And if a generation of young people are feeling vulnerable in the financial ecosystem, that they feel they have no resilience in there, they are going to back away from it. So what should we do about that? We've done the research. We know what the evidentiary basis is. What do we now do about this perception of fear to enter the financial ecosystem, to take risks with their talent, to take risks with their creativity, or to even borrow a little money and take risks around debt? Fear of debt, fear of everything. That is crippling our society. And we cannot go forward with economic development if there is a belief that the financial ecosystem is holding them to ransom. We did so many interviews with young people about this matter. Many of them will say, you know, in those days I was principal here. They will say, principal, there's no space in there for us, There's no space within that financial system in our country for us. There is rhetoric about developing supportive policies, but the system has not been restructured, reorganized, recalibrated to open up doors to suck the young people in. It is still pushing them back. So how can we say, therefore, as nation builders, how can we say to our young people, we have your back? How can we say we have your back if we haven't paved the way in front of you? It's a contradiction. The only way you can have someone's back is if you have a strategy for their future. But the question, and I'm putting this fairly and reasonably, can we say that the financial ecosystem over which the FSC has regulatory authority, is it really taking care of the rich and making them richer? Taking care of the big companies, because the big companies have to be exported to global markets, and the regulatory compliance systems have to make sure that all of these big companies are being regulated properly. But what about the upliftment of the middle? What about the upliftment of the bottom? Where I'm going to end is on this observation. Normally I would say at this stage of my presentation, no, I'm going to land now. And the last time I did that, someone in the audience says, how are you going to land? You never take off. So I want you to be patient with me as I land, okay? I'm bringing it down. We need to find all of us. And when we finger point, I believe that you should finger point like this. You point at the person, but you point at yourself. All of us have to find ways to deal with this. If we cannot open up this system deliberately, systematically, with passion, create zones of entry, and if crime is seen as a way to beat the system, if the system is not your system, and you resort to breaking the law to beat the system, and if you then say, well, those with big capital are breaking the law, and we the small people, we are being mentored by them, you see the problem that we are faced with. Let us take an example of what could happen if the financial system does not restructure itself, reform itself to create room for a new reality. Take what happened in Britain. Slavery was such a big project. The wealth was flowing back into England. All the wealth from slave trade and from plantations, all that wealth was going back into England. And within a matter of 2 decades, commercial banks were springing up in every village, every town in England. There was a proliferation of financial institutions to soak up all of that cash that was coming in, soak it up, and make it available to everyone who wanted access. So, thousands of institutions in every village. And the money came in, and the people in those communities could then go to the bank and borrow money for their own enterprise. So if you were a shoemaker, you could go to the bank and borrow £50 to set up a shoe manufacturing company. And hitherto, you're just a shoemaker, working at home. But now the banks are flush with cash, and it's now made available to everybody. And then in 1694, the government created the Bank of England. And the Bank of England was created to regulate all of these provincial little banks and bring order. This is the country that understood finance. And remember, this is the country that had just cut off the king's head. Because the king said he was a tyrant, he's above the law. There will be no democracy in this country. Poor people must know their place. And they went to Buckingham Palace, dragged him out and chopped off his head and says, no, this country is for everybody. So the Bank of England come up to make sure that all citizens can have access to cash to start up a little business. Not surprising, we have on record Napoleon Bonaparte describing the English people as a nation of shopkeepers. You heard the expression. That's what Napoleon called them, because they were able to have all of that regulated cash to allow everybody to get some of it if they had the will. They democratized it and opened it up. Britain became the first industrial nation because of that. Now, there's a lesson in that. Then you compare that with Spain. Spain was the biggest imperial nation in our hemisphere. They had everything. They had North America, they had South America, they had the Caribbean. Columbus came, did his stuff, and all of the Americas was owned by the Spanish. They raided all the gold from Mexico, all the silver from Peru. So all the precious metals they ripped out of the Caribbean, North America, South America, took back to Spain. But they had no financial sense. They took it home and put it under their bed. So everybody had gold and silver under their bed. And when you want to buy something, you go to the treasure trove, you open it out, took a handful of gold, and you go and buy something with it. And that is what the Spanish did. They did not understand finance at all. And which is why Spain, having owned all the American colonies for themselves, along with Portugal, ended up as the poorest countries in Europe. Spain and Portugal were the poorest countries in Europe by the 20th century because they did not know how to convert their wealth into cash, into investment possibilities. The British understood the secrets of finance, created an ecosystem. Those are lessons we have to learn. What are we going to do to create a financial ecosystem that every citizen in this country with an idea, with the will, with the strength and the capacity to participate and set up their own operations. We know that every country that has achieved economic growth in the last 30, 40 years, the growth comes from the middle. The bottom comes up into the middle bulges and generates the economic growth. The top creams off the top. The middle drives the growth. We know that. In Barbados, we have no middle. We have a top and we have a bottom. And this is not acceptable. The question, of course, is can the FSC do anything about that? You are fundamentally a regulatory structure. But the question is it possible to exercise in your application of the rules? Is it possible to exercise a little flexibility in this direction to try to rethink the financial system so that all of it would be more accessible to the majority of our citizens? Now, all of us who have watched the introduction of the IFRS 17, we saw how that really destabilized small and middle business. We had gone through that a decade earlier with the FATCA. We've heard about the OECS and how they treat the movement of money in the Caribbean in and out. So we've been facing these headwinds to destabilize. But what can we do? We know in Barbados we have an Economic Growth Council, and the government is very concerned about this phenomenon, and it wants to do something that is very important. But let us have a big debate. You know, it took us in Barbados, it took us 30 years to make up our minds. Should teachers be able to beat our children? It took us 30 years debating, is it good for them? Is it bad for them? Should we allow teachers to whip our children? It was a 30-year-old debate. And ultimately, we all agreed, no, keep your hands off our children. But it took us 30 years to get there. Now, because that's how we are. One of the features of the Barbadian personality, and I want to say this from a historical perspective, we Barbadians, we are slow to move. We listen, we think, we debate, we discuss, we reflect, and we take a long time. But when we move one time, boom! When we move swiftly, and we move decisively. That is our nature as a people. But I don't want us to take too long on this one. I want us to think quicker on this one and move decisively to say, listen, we need reform and restructuring. We can't allow our young people to be out there feeling locked out. We need them involved. We need that young mind and energy and intellect. And Sir Neville. Many of you may remember when Sir Neville was chair. And the Barbados Mutual was having a hostile takeover of Life of Barbados. How many of you remember that? It was a hostile takeover. The rules were not clear. The Canadian rules, regulatory rules were not clear and so on. But thank God that Sir Neville was in the chair. And he was able to bring all the interest parties together. The mutual people, the LOB people, the other investors. And he managed that situation in such a way that when the transaction was completed, everybody thought they had won. And I remember thinking, this is a mark of pure genius. Bring everyone, work it through. There were contradictions, there were conflicts, there were conflicts of opinion and who should get what and who should not get what. And the regulator had to be in the middle of it. Sir Neville displayed not only that intellectual genius, but the necessary personality type to reduce the macho masculinity and deal with what is in the best interest of Barbados. And he did that, and we are now forever grateful. So, to the spirit of Sir Neville, it is alive with us. That spirit of decency, that spirit of respect for everyone, and deep belief in the potential of our country to go from strength to strength with dialogue and decision making. I thank you all for the generosity of your patience, and my plane has now landed. Thank you. Thank you.
The incomparable Professor Sir Hilary Beckles. Let's put our hands together one more time. So we will forego, just in the interest of time, we'll forego the formal Q&A segment and engage with Sir Hilary, who will be with us for a bit of our reception time. But at this time, we do want to express a token of appreciation to you, and we invite our CEO, Mr. Warwick Ward, to join us here on stage as we make that presentation. Can I invite you to stand just a minute? And Warwick, I'm sorry, I didn't want you to leave. Just come back, just for 30 seconds more. And Philip, can I ask you to join us on the stage as well? You may go. So polite that you asked if you could go. So to formally express our appreciation this evening to all who would have made it possible, on the cards would have been our communications coordinator, Charlene Matherin. Unfortunately, she is now unwell and has left us for the evening, and we wish her better soon. So I invite another team member from the comms department, Consultant Mia Lisa Garns, who will move the vote of thanks in her stead. Mia?
Good evening, everyone. As we bring this truly memorable evening to a close, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the Financial Services Commission as we celebrate our 15th anniversary and our very first Sir Neville Nicholls Memorial Lecture. What a fitting and meaningful occasion it has been. Not simply a program of events, but a journey through reflection, legacy, and forward vision. We began in a spirit of unity with a heartfelt prayer from our colleague, Reverend Wayne Griffith. We thank him sincerely for setting a tone of purpose and reflection that carried throughout the evening. We extend our deep appreciation to Mr. Philip Nicholls, representing the Nicholls family, for those touching reflections which reminded us that behind every great legacy is a life of conviction, service, and humanity. To the entire Nicholls family and close friends of the family, thank you for honoring our invitation and for joining us both online and in person. To Ms. Gail Marshall, Director of Strategic Projects, thank you for your thoughtful and insightful remarks on behalf of our executive management as we kickstart this important week of flagship events. We warmly acknowledge our newly appointed board chairman, Sir Patterson Cheltenham. Sir, your presence here this evening signals both continuity and renewal. We thank you for your remarks and look forward with confidence to your stewardship as the FSC continues to evolve and strengthen its role. Our gratitude goes to Elite Vox for their stirring performance, inspired, exulting, free. Those words linger, and so does the emotion you bring to the space. Thank you for that beautiful reminder of the power of artistic expression. To our Chief Operations Officer, Carol Nichols, Though not physically present, we thank you for adding your voice and charm to the evening's program. We too look forward to a week of productive consultations as we advance our legislative reform and strengthen our supervisory architecture. To the incomparable Adrian Greene, your spoken word piece was powerful and evocative. Thank you for that moment of pause and perspective. And then, of course, our featured speaker, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles. Your address did more than inform. It challenged, it provoked, and it inspired. You invited us to think more deeply about the role of the financial sector within the wider pursuit of economic democracy. And in doing so, you have set a remarkable standard for this lecture. We are truly grateful. And that one thing to remember, every child has a gift. It is for us to find it. I love that. To our MC, Alicia Bascom, Manager of Corporate Communication and Public Education, thank you for making the evening feel both polished and personal. Your poise, warmth, and effortless command of the program kept us engaged and connected from the beginning to the end. This evening has been a fitting tribute to Sir Neville Nicholls, the FSC's first board chairman, a man whose vision and leadership helped to shape not only an institution, but a standard of excellence that endures. His legacy is not something we simply recall, it is something we carry forward. I would also like to recognize a group whose contribution spans far beyond this evening. To the members of staff who have been with the FSC since its inception, your loyalty, dedication, and quiet perseverance have been the foundation upon which these 15 years have been built. Your continued support is not only appreciated, it is deeply valued. The same is true for many of our partners and key stakeholders in this room who have supported our journey and continue to do so. To everyone who worked behind the scenes to bring this event to life, our organizing team, technical crew, ushers, and our support staff, thank you. Events such as this may appear seamless, but they're built on hard work, coordination, and commitment. And finally, to all of you distinguished guests, stakeholders, colleagues, and friends in this room and those viewing online, thank you for your presence. It is your engagement and support that give meaning to occasions such as this. As we transition into the networking reception, I encourage you to continue the conversation sparked here tonight, to connect, to reflect, and perhaps even to imagine what the next 15 years might hold. Thank you once again, and do enjoy the rest of your evening.
Again, thank you, Mia, for moving the vote of thanks. So we're just about to wrap up, but we do have one submission from one of our audience members who wanted to take the opportunity to express their thoughts. Could I get one of the ushers to perhaps just provide a mic to our friend here in the green? And while the mic comes, again, let me just add my voice because it's been a whirlwind of a week, a month, perhaps maybe even the year, because we wanted, in honoring Sir Neville, to do it right. And Philip, I hope that your dad would have been proud. I'm pretty sure that he would have been after what he would have seen today. So we invite our colleague to make her submission at this time, just before I close out.
Hi, good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, I want to say, Sir Hilary, thank you very much for that great speech. You were my Caribbean civilization teacher at UE, and I think that that needs to be taught at all schools from primary level. I just wanted to say that, for me personally, I just want to say that I'm a part of what you're saying. My family never attained a degree, and I'm the first person to attain one, and I went up to master's level. And I just wanted to say to you, too, that I work in government, But then I came off and did my own business. And I just want to just point some solutions based on what you're saying. And the thing is that I came here hoping that you would have made the points that I would have concluded from my own experience. Because black people are where they are because they are kept there. And I'm just hoping that what you said, for my master's, I did small business, small micro enterprise. I studied that for my master's degree. And what we learned was that to build a country, small businesses are the persons who really do it. And it's really from the small, and not necessarily the middle, as you're saying. You know, so if we can build that up, it's really important. Just want to give you my points quickly, and I really wanted to say in the people, because I want to tell you that it is possible. I came from no mother, no father. I have my home, I have a truck, I have different businesses. And it is possible based on, and I do investments as well. So I don't just stay quiet. And so I just wanted to say, how can we create a financial ecosystem and strategy? Growth comes from the middle, and as I said, it's not really necessarily in the middle. I want to challenge you on that one. Blacks don't like to see each other get through. And sometimes this is something that we really need to deal with. I'm still seeing blacks, white people continue to lead because we are our own enemies. We need to watch that. Politics have kept the elite in places because of the perks they get from those in power instead of the poor blacks. And that's something that, as you said, Sir Hilary, keeping the poverty, allowing them to speak and allowing them to be involved in the different solutions and stuff like that. You made a very important point, including those in poverty and allowing fairness to take place. I think that is what causes the pickup in crime. And how do we get small people to get loans for appreciated assets instead of depreciated ones? So we are quick to get cars and loans for cars and vehicles and stuff like that, instead of for land, instead of for businesses. And so I challenged the Financial Service Commission, as Sir Hilary said, that, you know, we really need to open up the doors to allow small businesses like mine and stuff like that to be able to flourish and to be able to grow and allow blacks to really do better. That's my submission. Thank you very much for allowing me to do so.
Thank you so much for allowing your voice to be heard. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to stay with us for the networking reception, where, of course, you can continue the discussion sparked by this evening's lecture. We invite you as well to take in the musical talents of saxophonist Akeem Burke, who will be providing the entertainment for the duration. On behalf of the FSC, the Nicholls family, and our future Barbados partners, thank you for being a part of this historic inaugural Sir Neville Nicholls Memorial Lecture. It has been a pleasure serving as your Master of Ceremonies. I am Alicia Bascom, wishing you all a good evening.
Commission, gatekeepers guiding your way. FSC is here to stay. Integrity, excellence, leading, that's right. For a stable future, shining bright. FSC, we stand for you, keeping finances strong. See your future's bright. FSC, we see it through, building trust in all we do. Regulation that's fair and right. With FSC, your future's bright. FSC, we see it through, building trust in all we do. Regulation that's fair and right. With FSC, your future's bright. We see it through. Regulation that's fair and right. just right.
Yeah, it's me. In my head now.